Picture this, it's Sunday night, August 24th, 2025. The city is winding down, lights flicker in apartment windows, and most people are preparing for the week ahead. But as the world gets ready to sleep, something unexpected is about to erupt online. You're relaxing, maybe scrolling through your phone, when suddenly, Donald Trump drops a digital bombshell on Truth Social. Instantly, notifications start buzzing across the country, and social media feeds light up with reactions. Trump launches a blistering attack on ABC and NBC, not just criticizing their coverage, but threatening their very ability to broadcast. He claims their reporting is not only biased but so dangerous that their licenses should be at risk, a move that goes far beyond name-calling or political banter. He brands these networks as fake news and an arm of the Democrat Party, insisting their coverage is overwhelmingly negative, 97% according to him. The accusation isn't new, but the threat is. This isn't just venting frustration, it's a direct challenge to the media's right to exist. Within minutes, the story explodes across newsrooms and social media, dominating headlines and sparking heated debate. At the heart of his threat is a call for the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, to investigate and potentially revoke the licenses that allow these networks to reach millions of Americans. It's a bold escalation, raising the stakes for both the media and the government. This isn't just criticism, it's a threat to the very survival of these networks. It blurs the line between political opinion and the power of government, raising urgent questions about the limits of presidential authority and the independence of the press. What exactly are broadcast licenses and how do they work? Can a president really take them away with a single order or tweet? Or is there a complex legal process that protects broadcasters from political retaliation? And what does this all mean for the freedom of the press in America? Is this a turning point, or just another chapter in a long-running battle between presidents and the media? Buckle up, we're about to unpack the chaos, the controversy, and the constitutional questions at the heart of this Sunday night social media storm. Let's talk fake news. It's a term that's been thrown around a lot in recent years, but what does it really mean? Originally, it meant totally made-up stories. Think, Pope endorses presidential candidate. These were stories that had no basis in reality, designed to mislead or entertain. But Trump rebranded it. Now, fake news is any coverage he dislikes, whether it's about poll numbers, investigations, or even an unflattering camera angle. It's become a catch-all phrase to dismiss any information that doesn't align with his narrative. This isn't just about lies, it's about discrediting any inconvenient truth. By labeling factual reporting as fake, the goal is to create confusion and doubt. The tactic works because it's simple and taps into long-standing distrust of the media. Many people already feel that the media is biased or untrustworthy, and this rhetoric amplifies those feelings. By calling respected journalists enemies of the people, Trump creates an alternate reality for his supporters, where only he is trustworthy. This undermines the role of the press as a check on power. The result? Facts become debatable, and debate itself becomes impossible. When everyone has their own version of the truth, meaningful discussion breaks down. When Trump calls ABC and NBC fake news, he's not just criticizing, they're being delegitimized in the eyes of millions. This isn't just about one person's opinion, it's about eroding trust in major institutions. This isn't a media critique. It's an attempt to destroy the credibility of the press. When the press is seen as untrustworthy, it becomes easier to dismiss any information that challenges the status quo. The danger? When no one agrees on basic facts, democracy itself is at risk. A functioning democracy relies on a shared understanding of reality. That's why this fight over fake news matters so much. It's not just about media, it's about the very foundation of our democratic society. So, what exactly are broadcast licenses, and why do they matter so much in the world of television and radio? Imagine the airwaves as a vast, invisible network of highways crisscrossing the country. Except instead of cars, these highways carry TV and radio signals straight into our homes. These airwaves aren't owned by any one company, they're considered public property, belonging to all of us. The Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, acts as the traffic controller for these airwaves. It decides which networks, like ABC, NBC, and others, get permission to use certain frequencies, and under what conditions. Without a license from the FCC, a network simply can't broadcast to millions of viewers. These licenses aren't permanent. Every 8 years, stations must apply for renewal, showing they're serving the public interest. Most of the time this process is routine and drama-free, as long as stations follow the rules and provide programming that benefits their communities. But here's where things get tricky. The phrase public interest is intentionally broad and open to interpretation. The FCC has always been careful not to police the actual content of news broadcasts out of respect for the First Amendment and the freedom of the press. Revoking a license just because a politician doesn't like the coverage, that's not only controversial, it's a legal and constitutional minefield. The government can't simply silence voices it disagrees with. The FCC is designed to be independent from political pressure. If anyone tried to pull a license over news content, it would spark a fierce legal battle, likely ending up at the Supreme Court, with huge implications for press freedom. So when a president or politician threatens to yank a network's license, it's less about actually following through, and more about sending a chilling message. The goal is to intimidate journalists, making them second-guess what stories they cover or how they report the news. The real power of this threat isn't in the act itself, but in the fear it creates. Journalists may start to worry about their jobs, their networks, and even their ability to report freely. That's why, even if the threat of pulling a license is unlikely to succeed, it's still incredibly dangerous. It undermines the confidence and independence of the press. At its core, this is about using the power of government to try to silence critics and control the narrative. A move that strikes at the very heart of democracy. To Trump, the media isn't just negative, it's out to get him. He sees a coordinated effort by journalists and networks to undermine his agenda, pointing to stats like 97% bad stories as proof. Positive achievements, he claims, get ignored, while every misstep is magnified. Investigations into his finances, he calls them witch hunts, not public scrutiny. Trump and his supporters blur the line between news and opinion, seeing all criticism as evidence of bias. To them, networks like ABC and NBC aren't news, they're propaganda machines. That's why Trump frames his threats as self-defense, not an attack on the free press. For his base, he's the victim fighting back against a powerful, biased institution. Trump's war with the media didn't start in 2025. It's been his playbook for decades. As a New York mogul, he craved headlines but lashed out at negative coverage. As president, he barred journalists, clashed with reporters, and used social media to attack the press. He's even taken legal action, winning multi-million-dollar settlements against major networks. For Trump, legal and regulatory threats aren't last resorts. They're standard tools. This isn't a one-off outburst. It's a long-term strategy to control the narrative by discrediting and intimidating the press. He's fought this battle on every front, rhetorically, legally, and now regulatorily. For him, it's not about a few bad stories, it's about who controls public perception. The stakes? Whether the press or the president shapes what America believes. And Trump has shown he'll fight with every tool he's got. Trump's threats split the country in two. His supporters see him as a hero, finally standing up to a biased, elitist media that ignores their values. For them, revoking licenses is justice for years of perceived media betrayal. On the other side, critics see Trump's threats as authoritarian, an attack on the First Amendment and democracy itself. They argue the press must be free to hold power accountable, even if it's imperfect. The real danger? A chilling effect where journalists self-censor out of fear. This isn't just about Trump or the networks, it's about whether the press can challenge the powerful without fear. The divide is deep, and the stakes are nothing less than the future of free speech. Why does fair news matter? Because it's the foundation of democracy. Like shopping for a car, you need unbiased info to make good decisions about leaders and policies. Fair news gives us shared facts, context, and multiple perspectives so we can decide for ourselves. When news is unfair or seen as unfair, society fractures into separate realities. This isn't just about politics, it affects science, health, and safety. A fair press is our watchdog, warning us about threats and holding all power to account. The solution to bias isn't government control, it's better journalism and more critical news consumers. Whether you love or hate Trump, you need reliable information to navigate the world. A free press isn't a threat, it's a public service. That's why this debate matters for everyone. Hovering over all this is the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. The Supreme Court has fiercely protected this right, making it nearly impossible for the government to censor news content. The FCC can regulate airwaves but not punish networks for political coverage. Any attempt to yank a license over news content would be a constitutional non-starter. Courts would shut it down fast, but the threat itself is powerful. The fear of a costly, drawn-out legal fight can make newsrooms hesitate. This is the chilling effect. Journalists self-censor, not because they're wrong, but because they're scared. So while the First Amendment is a shield, threats from the powerful can still wound the press. The real battle isn't in court, it's in the newsroom, where fear can silence truth. That's why even empty threats matter. So, who gets to control the news, the president or the people? Trump's vision puts the remote in the Oval Office, arguing the government should protect the public from fake news. But the First Amendment says no politician should have that power. The answer to bad information isn't censorship, it's more information. The public, not the president, should decide what's true by choosing what to watch and read. A president controlling the news is fundamentally undemocratic. The power to silence critics is the power to rule unchecked. In the end, the remote belongs in our hands, not the hands of the powerful we're supposed to watch.